Welcome to Morgantown, West Virginia, and the Women's Regional Gymnastics Championships. This is the second round. We're in West Virginia University Coliseum. I'm John Roethlisberger. I'll be joined today by Sam Pesek, Olympian and NCAA champion. It is do or die time in women's gymnastics. Teams from this session will qualify on to the finals tomorrow. This is what it looks like today. Yesterday was the first round, a play-in game of sorts. Penn State and West Virginia faced off. West Virginia got the win. They will be competing this evening, but this first session of the second round is where we're at right now. Cal Bears, BYU, Ohio State, and Towson will face off. The top two teams will move on to the next round, the regional final, which is tomorrow evening. After this competition, Michigan, UCLA, Kent State, and West Virginia will be on the second half of this second round of Women's Regional Gymnastics Championship. Sam, this is an incredible time of year. It's a new format from a couple of years ago, so it's relatively new, but it is exciting, and it's the best way you could finish a college gymnastics season, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, John, you and I have been talking about the excitement of this competition all week because we know the amount of pressure these gymnasts are under. And the reality is, two teams are advancing to tomorrow's competition, but that means two teams are going home. It's an absolutely fierce competition, and these teams have to be on their A game today.
And the favorite in this session, the team that comes in the highest ranking, is the Cal Bears. Number 5 in the country, one of the best seasons in program history. They are something to watch, aren't they, Sam?
Absolutely, and I think more impressive than their being ranked 5th is their #1 ranking team in the country on bars. They have exquisite lines, and they seem to stick almost every single dismount. And of course, they bring that difficulty. Sophomore Nevaeh D'Souza is very consistent for this Cal team. And of course, their senior, Kiana George, is one to watch, especially on floor.
There is D'Souza, one of their top gymnasts, ranked number 10 in the all-around in the country coming into the regionals this weekend. She'll be one to watch, of course. Cal Bears, the number 5 team in the country. They're the highest ranked team here. The BYU Cougars are right behind them, or a few spots behind them in number 12. The two favorites to advance, but certainly that's no for sure. And this is a look at how the coverage is going to work today. We're going to have a quad box, a little bit different than you're used to if you follow the sport of gymnastics. Usually it's showing one gymnast at a time, and usually it's a dual meet situation. But again, this is the March Madness of women's gymnastics. We're going to make this as fun and exciting for the viewers as we possibly can. So each team will be shown all of their routines. You can see up in the left corner there, Towson, they will be starting on the vault. BYU, they are to the right of Towson. They are going to be starting things off on the uneven bars. The Cal Bears, the favorite today, they will be on the balance beam lower left. And then last, certainly not least, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They will be starting on the floor exercise. They are in the lower right corner. Sam, where do you like to start as a gymnast?
I think Olympic order is the ideal rotation if you could choose one. But it was interesting speaking to the Cal head coaches, Justin and Liz, and they were excited about starting on beam. They wanted to almost rip the Band-Aid off, get it out of the way so they can be aggressive on all the other events.
And we'll try to focus on a routine rather than talking about all of them at the same time. And I think right now it seems appropriate to start with the favorite, the Cal Bears, and this was Milan Klausi, the junior from Salt Lake City, Utah.
She's done an excellent job leading them off. The way she works beam is just extremely calm and consistent.
How important is that first hit routine, especially on an event like the balance beam, Sam?
It is so important to set the tone for the team, especially, not just on beam, but this is the very first routine of the competition. It's a big deal. No problems for them, John.
Nicely done. Milan is a legacy of sorts. Her mom is a NCAA champion, Olympian. Missy Marlowe, the fans of gymnastics will know who that is most certainly. One of the best collegiate gymnasts ever to strap on the grips, in my opinion. So one down for the Cal Bears. Around the gym, Towson has got a vault under their belt. BYU has got a bar routine completed already. Ohio State starting on the floor exercise. That is an event, talking to their coaches, they've really struggled with this year, and they thought this is a great place to start, actually. If they can hit and have a good rotation, they could be in a position to maybe surprise a couple teams today.
And sometimes, John, it's about starting on a good event to build that momentum. So that's very important for this Ohio State team.
Jenna Wheats, the leadoff for Towson, a 9.775. That's a very good start score for them on vault. As we get the scores in, obviously we will update you as quickly as we can. A lot going on, but that's what makes this day so fun. Second gymnast up for Cal. This is Nevaeh D'Souza, one of their top all-arounders.
She's only a sophomore, but when you watch her compete, she looks like a senior. She looks like a veteran, is able to handle the pressure, and the coaches say that she really keeps everyone on the team motivated. Nice back handspring layout. You could tell she was a little off there and adjusted well. John, when we had a chance to speak to Liz Crandall, head coach of Cal, she mentioned that they felt like they got a little distracted on beam at Pac-12s, and that was something that they wanted to improve here today. She said they got a little detached from their keywords, and if you know gymnastics, you know what keywords mean, and that's just that inner dialogue you're saying to yourself throughout the competition, throughout the beam routine, and you can see it looks strong for them.
Her teammate Milan started with a 9.8. The Cal Bears led off with Angel Zong, a 9.825. Great start for them as well.
Finish another solid routine for Cal on beam.
Sam, let's jump over to bars. We got it. Abby Beeston, who will be the next gymnast up. They've had two very good routines to start off with. There's an unfortunate fall from Amy Stewart on vault for Towson. Nikki Burkowski for Towson, a 9.7 right before her. They will hope to drop that score, obviously. Abby Beeston in the upper right, junior from Lehigh, Utah.
We had a chance to talk to their head coach, Gard Young, and he was talking about their conference championships and was really impressed with them because it wasn't easy. He said it was really a fight, and he thinks that's actually going to help them and make them more prepared for this competition. Nice ginger to get things going. Good double layout. Little college stick there for you, John, early on in the competition.
Dig those toes in. BYU, as I mentioned, great start. Elodie Cyrene, the second gymnast, up a 9.875. Nevaeh D'Souza for Cal on balance beam, a 9.825. So those two heavyweights kind of going back and forth, but over on floor exercise, Brooke Chesney starts off the rotation for Ohio State with a 9.8. So a good start on an event that's not necessarily a strong one for them. And now back to balance beam, Sam, if you could. Andi Lee, the star freshman for the Cal Bears.
Well, Andi has really made a statement here in this Cal team early on. She is just a freshman, but she doesn't look like it. And you're going to hear me say that a lot about this Cal team. They are pushing each other in the gym to make competitions easy. Last meet, Andi scored a 9.9, so she has a pretty high scoring potential for Cal in this event. Working right out of that jump combination. Good rhythm throughout this routine and finishing strong with a good stick. They're 3 for their 3, John.
And they need to be. The BYU Cougars are coming strong today as well. Of course, winning today isn't the most important thing. Being in the top 2 is, but you got to think for these big time teams, they want to come in here, perform well, and kind of get momentum, you'd think, heading into tomorrow. Wouldn't you say, Sam?
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to get your feet wet. It's good to have a solid competition under your belt for the confidence in tomorrow's competition.
Very unique vault from Ali Zulki, but she follows Amy Stewart's 8.8, so certainly a pressure situation early on here for Towson. If they want to push those top 2 teams at all, they can't afford to count a fall.
And John, quickly, I'm noticing on bars here with BYU, Anissa Alvarado, the release moves and the lines that she's showing, it is so beautiful. She brings that confidence and that comfortability to this event. I mean, last meet she scored a 9.9, so this could be huge for them.
That was a big routine, just a sophomore from Rancho Cucamonga, California. That is her only event today, so she is done, but that was a good one.
I'm pretty sure Guard Young will take that one.
Now over to balance beam. Kiana George mounts for Cal. She follows Andy Lee's 9.85. So haven't broken that 9.9 yet, but some solid scores nonetheless. Abby Beeston for BYU, a 9.75 in the third spot for them.
Good strong arm positions on that series. On the front aerial back tuck, it's really important to keep those arms moving to make sure she gets the connection. She actually has a skill named after her called the George. It's a triple wolf turn. Oh, she just did the double here today. Another solid combination from Kiana George on beam.
Towson's fifth vaulter, Lauren Boland, lands on her feet, as does Kiana George. Cal's rolling. How big is it if you can get 5 good scores on beam to start a competition? The confidence for the Bears, you'd think, would go through the roof at that point.
Well, it's huge, and I think more importantly than just the hit sets are the sticks that we're seeing from them. And that's something you're gonna see from start to finish on every single event. I know they've made a big point to work on those sticks, and think about it, 1 step is 1/10. So when you add that up, that is huge in terms of the overall team score at the end.
Haley Pitu is on bars for BYU. She follows a 9.9 from Alvarado.
I knew it was going to be a good score. Nice handstands we're seeing from Haley here. And these girls can swing. You can tell in the dismounts, they know where they are. She was looking at the ground. I actually think she was trying to stick too hard. Sometimes that causes you to take a step, didn't quite get her chest up enough on that landing.
So Savannah Gonzalez, she was put in the lineup, a lineup change of sorts for Ohio State coming out of the Big Ten Championship. She gets a career high 9.7 in the second spot. Here's Cami Vitoff, the anchor for Towson.
Like to see her absorb the ground just a little bit more, save those knees.
So that'll do it for Towson on vault. They do get 5 hit scores. They will have to count a couple in the 9.7s, but they do drop that Amy Stewart 8.8 to avoid disaster here early as Maya Bordas is on the balance beam for the Cal Bears.
Maya has also been an integral part of this Cal team. She's part of the Coaches Council, which is basically their version of team captions. They say that she's an incredible listener and can be very logical, so it's been a huge asset to the team, especially this year.
Kiana George, a 9.9. So the first score of 9.9 or higher for the Bears.
You know, there's not much to comment on here in these Cal beam routines, which is actually a good thing because they're making it look easy, they're making it look simple, and I think they're gonna be rewarded for that.
I tell you what, if we can jump over to floor, Sam, Ohio State is putting up some good scores. Lexi Edwards, the third gymnast, up in 9.85. This is Alexis Hankins, and she just nailed a full in to mount with.
She had an out of bounds last meet, so I know she's gonna want to put up a big score for her team here. Something I love watching Ohio State on floor is the showmanship. I know Meredith Polisiewicz puts a high emphasis on the performance value, and you can really tell it shows up in their floor routines.
Saw some excitement in the upper right there. That was the anchor for BYU, Abby Bowden-Stainton. She followed Haley P2's 9.85, so great bar rotation for the Cougars.
Finishing here on floor, good double back.
So 4 gymnasts in for the Buckeyes on floor exercise. I don't think they could have possibly asked for more.
Hey, listen, John, they are the underdogs, but we talked, it's anyone's game. Really, if Ohio State shows up and continues to put routine after routine and get their high-scoring potentials, there's a shot they can make it to tomorrow's competition as well.
So finishing up the beam rotation for Cal is Emmy Watterson. Maya Bordas, a 9.95. That is a career high score for her.
Now, Emmy Watterson here on beam actually had a fall at last competition. It was very uncharacteristic, so I know she's looking to redeem herself here, and she's got 5 scores under her belt, so they technically don't need it, but again, it's that confidence going into tomorrow's competition.
There you go. Cal's got to like it. They've got their rotation completed.
So and John, they'll most likely drop that 9.8, and that's a very high beam score to start off this competition with.
Yeah, and every score built, which is what you like to see as a coach as well. Started with a 9.8, the last one a 9.95. Not sure if Emmy can top that, but great rotation. Now floor exercise, Alexis Hankins, a 9.9. So we have 2 career high scores for Ohio State so far. This is Claire Gagliardi. 2 gymnasts left. JoJo Wargo will be the anchor for the Buckeyes. I love it.
I was just going to say that. I love, right from the start, it is such a performance. Clean combination pass.
Coach Meredith Polisivic said that one of the biggest things that she needed to do with her team, and I don't think this is unique to the Buckeyes, is build confidence. The season didn't start. The team didn't really get in the gym until October because of COVID, and building confidence and along with conditioning has been such a huge factor this season.
And that's really a storyline that you're going to hear us talk a lot about today, because each team has their particular story of how it's negatively or positively affected them this season. And like you mentioned, that floor endurance and stamina is so tough to build.
I love the end of that floor routine. I'm not sure. Was that Pac-Man, Sam? I feel like that was Pac-Man.
I'm a mean Pac-Man player. Something about me, John, that you probably didn't know. So I'd actually, like to battle Claire here.
I didn't know that. What you probably could have gathered from me is I was alive when Pac-Man actually came out the first time. So, that doesn't mean I'm good at it. I'm kind of a Miss Pac-Man fan myself.
I was better at the Game Boy version, but,
Assistant Coach Luke Wasson there on the right-hand side of that screen, giving some last-minute advice to the anchor of this rotation, JoJo Warga. Again, fantastic rotation. The Buckeyes could not have asked for a better start there. Their weakest event this season, and they come out and they put up a great score. They're ranked 38th in the nation on this event. Their lowest ranking out of any of the 4 events. Their high score is just a 49.2, which I'm pretty sure they have already beaten that as we wait for Claire Gagliardi's score. When that score comes in, we'll know for sure. But
last meet, John, Claire actually got a season high and a career high on floor, 9.925, and I expect it to be a similar score, if not a little boost from there. So they are building here on floor.
Gagliardi a 9.875, so not a career high, but certainly a very solid score. Right now, the Buckeyes are counting a 9.7 as their low score. The next score from that point is a 9.8. So JoJo Warga in a situation here, if she can put up a 9.9 plus, she is going to put her team, obviously early, one event in a fantastic situation.
And they're leaving this job to the freshmen. It's their first time at a regional championships. See if she can do it. Nice 2.5 front to get things going.
You know, Sam, you like to have experience, but sometimes, I mean, I know when I was growing up, young and dumb was sometimes an asset. Can that be an asset here? You know, you just go out and do gymnastics and maybe don't think about it as much.
Absolutely. And, you know, another important thing to note, too, is that there hasn't really been that many fans in the arena, if at all, this season. So that kind of plays into it. Probably feels a little bit more like a JO season when you're competing out there than a typical NCAA with 15,000 fans plus.
Cal Bears a 49.4 for balance, being 1/10 off of their season high. BYU Cougars a 49.375 on being that ties, or on bars rather, that ties their season high. So great starts from both of them.
And just judging by our conversations with their head coach, we knew we were going to expect something great from both of those teams here. They seem very prepared, very confident.
What a great start to this regional second round. We've got some great gymnastics. Towson finishes vault with a 48.725. Not a great vault rotation for them, but the Cougars, the Bears, and the Buckeyes flirting or getting season highs on their first events and maybe making this look like it could be an exciting regional second round. We're going to come back with a whole lot more gymnastics. These teams will rotate. We'll break it down. Okay, so no national championship promo. Okay. You can do the scoreboard before this storylines? Oh, okay, okay. So I don't need to mention it. Or do you want me to mention it? Okay. Okay. Okay, meet summary after the highlights. Got it.
Perfect.
Welcome back to West Virginia University Coliseum in Morgantown, West Virginia. One rotation in. Some of the storylines coming into this regional championship. Michigan finished second at their Big Ten championship, snapped a streak that the Gophers were not going to let them have. But they come in here looking hot into the regionals nonetheless. Cal Bears seeking their first regional title after a record season. Records on bars, beam, floor, and a number 5 ranking. UCLA, on the other hand, they're used to being up there in the top 3 or 4 in the country. This is their lowest seeding since 2014. They will be in the evening session along with Michigan here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Sam, some of the highlights from this first session, it was a great one. You know, try to encapsulate some of the highlights for us.
Well, it was not a boring first rotation, but Towson on vault had an amazing Yurchenko layout full from Lauren Bolin. It was incredible. Yurchenko layout full, straight body position, straight knees, and clean landing. Heading over to bars from BYU, they had an excellent rotation. We were expecting good things, and they did not disappoint, of course. This is Abby Bowden-Stanton starting strong with high piked Jaeger, immediate overshoot. You notice really clean body position throughout this routine. Nice handstands. And this dismount was extremely impressive. Full in to a stuck landing. Heading over on beam is Cal, Maya Bordas. They put in phenomenal team score up, but this was a highlight for me. She scored a 9.95, and just look how comfortable she is up there. Scores were building for Cal on beam, and it was a great way to start the competition. Beautiful back handspring layout. Shows that power and the grace here on beam. No built-in deductions on this routine, which is why she was rewarded with such a high score. Coach Liz Crandall said they were excited to start on beam so they could rip the Band-Aid off, do a good job, and be aggressive for the other rotations. They did just that.
And they've got to be feeling good, because that 49.4 they got is an outstanding score there. As you see, first rotation highlights Towson's score on the vault. BYU recorded a season high, tied a season high on that event. Cal and balance beam obviously highlighted by Maya Bordas. And Ohio State, talking to their head coach, that was something they really wanted to do. They were excited to start on their worst event, and they get 2 career highs, and they put up an outstanding score to get things rolling. Do the Buckeyes hopefully something to build on, maybe make this a little bit more exciting for that second spot, Sam, than we initially thought coming in?
Yeah, BYU did a phenomenal job on bars, and when we were speaking to Guard Young, he seemed confident coming into this competition, and as they should be. They've been putting up consistent scores all season, so it's great to see that here in today's competition as well.
So Cal trying to get their first ever regional team victory. Right now they have a 1/4-10th lead over the number 12 ranked team in the country, the BYU Cougars. And what do you think Coach is telling her team right there, Sam?
I think she's telling them to be fun, enjoy themselves, breathe. You know, Liz Crandall's philosophy is really just be unique, be yourself, and have a great floor party. So I'm sure that's the pep talk right here.
I love it when the coach is like, just relax. I'm like, yeah, you try to relax. It's do or die time. Liz Crandall Howell, the head coach, co-head coach at Cal since 2018. She was the National Assistant Coach of the Year in 2016. She was on the national team, dare I say, back in my time. That's a long time ago. Most people listening to this weren't even alive. It's fine. 1987 to 1992, she was on the national team, and she actually competed for BYU.
I bet this is a fun homecoming to see BYU having such a good season this year. But I bet she still wants to win, John.
I think you're probably right. She knows where that paycheck comes from, you know? Grace Quinn will start for the Cal Bears. On the floor, exercise Towson. They move to the uneven bars. They'll be led off by Lauren Bolin. BYU is going to be on the balance beam. Lexi Mather will lead things off there. And Ohio State, they will be on the vault trying to keep things rolling. They will lead off with Morgan Lowe. Alicia Sacramone Quinn, who I do a lot of competitions with, Sam, always says the meet hasn't started till you get to beam. Here's BYU on beam. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I think it's helpful for them that they did so well on bars. It gives them a little bit of a cushion, but of course, you got to show up on this event.
I think the men's version of balance beam would be considered the pommel horse because it's so easy to come off of, but I will take pommel horse 100 times over beam. You can hold on with your hands. You can't really hold on balance beam.
I liked going to beam because once you found that inner confidence on the event, it's just like everything else. So it almost feels like a secret weapon when you're not afraid of it. And you can tell the teams that bring that energy to the event. Obviously, Cal has that this year, and I'm excited to see if BYU is bringing the heat too. First big break of the competition for BYU. First routine up, falling on a switch leap, and you know it was just one of those mistakes that you know exactly what you did wrong right after you do it. We talked about this when Cal started beam.
how important that first hit routine is. How difficult is a fall on the first routine of a beam rotation?
Man, you know she is extremely bummed about this, especially because it puts so much pressure on the rest of the 5 gymnasts up. They cannot have a fall, especially with Ohio State creeping up.
And Ohio State started vault very strong. Morgan Lowe nailed a Yurchenko full. Remember, Ohio State, they start on some of those events, you just got to land on your feet. They end on balance beam, and man, the pressure would be at another level if a regional advancing to the finals tomorrow is on the line.
John, you and I have been talking all week about the parity in gymnastics teams this season, and really anything can happen. We thought today might be a little bit more expected, but if Ohio State has an upset here, I mean, what makes for a great weekend for tomorrow?
Absolutely, as we see the second vaulter, Kobe Miller.
Good entry on the table. I liked her straight arms to get that strong block.
Towson's Cami Vitovs lands her dismount on bars, nails it.
And big smiles. It is hard to compete 2 days in a row. The other 3 teams in this competition will feel that if they qualify to tomorrow's competition, but Towson is hopefully going to feel that too. They're wanting an upset as well, but they have got to show up.
Yeah, they put themselves in a little bit of a hole after that first rotation, the vault rotation. So they're going to have to work their way out of that. We're waiting for Grace Quinn's score on the floor exercise. Lexi Mather's score on balance beam, a 9.175. 6 gymnasts go. You count 5 scores, you can drop one, and the Cougars will absolutely want to drop that score. But now Elodie Cyrene mounts the beam with pressure on. They've got to go 5 for 5. 5 up, 5 count for the Cougars.
Well, when we did our coaches call with head coach Gard Young, he said their conference championships was not perfect, but he liked how they handled it. And so he's hoping that that experience there can be brought in today's competition. Let's see if it happens here. Nice strong series. I like that Elodie is being really aggressive on beams. Sometimes when there's a fall, the next gymnast up gets tight, plays a little bit tight, and you see more mistakes come from that. But she's doing a really good job keeping the rhythm up, staying consistent for a hit routine. First one for BYU.
They needed that. Stop the bleeding. Buckeyes are landing those vaults on their feet. Towson hitting bar routines. And Maya Bordas for Cal. Looks good so far in this routine on floor exercise.
Lexi Edwards here on vault. Yurchenko layout full. I like how high she got off the table. Had a clean landing too.
Maya Bordas finishing up on floor exercise. Grace Quinn in the leadoff spot for Cal. Got a 9.825 on floor exercise. Scores so far for Ohio State on vault 9.8, 9.75, 9.8 as we wait for Lexi Edwards' score. She was the 4th gymnast to go. Sydney Jennings will be next to go there. Still waiting for Elodie Cyrene's score on balance beam as well. Nevaeh D'Souza will be the next bear to go on floor exercise, and here we go with Abby Minor Alder on balance beam. Elodie Cyrene got a 9.725.
BYU's head coach, Guard Young, said no offense or defense, just beam fence. And he didn't know he was foreshadowing this early fall in his beam rotation, but his gymnasts are doing a really good job picking up the pieces, being confident when they salute, and acting like nothing happened. Another solid vault for Ohio State there. Clean shapes in the air and very minimal deductions on those landings.
So Abby Miner-Alder gets a hit. So back-to-back hits, a little step on that landing. Looks like she was looking for that college stick again, Sam.
Hey, for them, it's not as important to stick. They just need to hit these 5 routines. So they've had 2 of the 5. They just need 3 more.
Absolutely. Towson on bars, by the way, started with a 9.7 from Bolin, 9.725 from Vitov. We're waiting for Zentek's score. Amy Stewart, the next gymnast to go for them. This is Nevaeh D'Souza starting a floor routine for the Bears.
Nevaeh starts off strong, and 2 9.825s for Cal on floor, and they have been scoring a bit higher. They actually are tied for 6th on floor, and at Pac-12s they got a 49.525, which is the 3rd best floor score in program history. So it's an event that's continuing to improve for them. Liz Crandall-Howell, Cal's coach, said that Nevaeh D'Souza is the only gymnast she's ever coached to say thank you in the air after she's given a correction. I'm just imagining her in the middle of a double back, John, saying thank you.
Yeah, I don't think that would have come into my mind. I think mostly I would have just been mad that I did something wrong. But that's pretty impressive. Another great floor routine for Cal. Towson finishing up that bar routine. That was Amy Stewart. This is Sophia McClelland on balance beam. Again, so much pressure, 3 gymnasts to go.
And John, Sophia's in that 4 spot, so typically she usually wouldn't feel that amount of pressure, but because there was a fall early on, she has got to be feeling it. And hopefully she's doing a good job staying in the moment, staying strong with her cues, but you got to imagine that's creeping in at some point in this routine.
But she handles it. That's 3 in a row after the fall from Lexi Mather in the leadoff spot. But they're not big scores, Sam, either. A 9.725 from Elodie Cyrene. Abby Miner-Alder got a 9.775. So when you're talking about advancing to the regional finals, scores in the 9.7s don't feel like the kind of scores that you want to have. You're putting yourself in a tough situation, it feels like to me.
Absolutely, and we saw a good example of that on Cal on beam, where scores were building and they were rising, and that's what the coaches are really looking for. When you have a fall early on in the competition, it's really hard to generate that momentum with the scoring.
Floor exercise, Milan Clausy. She put up a 9.925 at the Pac-12 Championships her last time out. She's capable of big things here. Nevaeh D'Souza, a 9.85. She was the 3rd gymnast to go for Cal. Ohio State is done on vault. They finished with a 9.75 from Claire Gagliardi. They will have to count that 7.5, but all the other scores into the 9.8s for the Buckeyes.
I have loved watching Milan perform on floor for the past couple years, and this year she wanted to do a contemporary routine. This is Road to Nowhere with a lot of string elements, you'll notice. amazing routine that is able to show off her musicality. One of her biggest gifts is a dancer. It's just so beautiful to watch. At Pac-12's, Milan scored a 9.925, so she does have the potential to put up a big score for Cal here.
Cal looks like the 5th-ranked team in the country so far. Great balance beam rotation so far, an outstanding floor exercise rotation, 29825s, 1985, and it feels like those scores are going to continue to go up.
Yeah, John, I was going to say Cal is making it look easy. You know, they're smiling, they look consistent, they don't look too high, too low, they just look even keel, and that's what you want here in the first day of the competition. Ooh.
Oh, another fall rather from Towson on bars, and that one looked like it could have been ugly. This Ali Zulki, the freshman from Waukesha, Wisconsin, and she seems to be okay, but man, that got me out of my seat a little bit.
Yeah, me too. It was interesting because it looked like she was almost too close and then got a little nervous that the bar was right there and let go, and it's where you saw that strange landing.
Towson has 5 hit routines prior to Ali's bar routine, so they will not have to count this score. But their high score is a 9.8 in this rotation. All the other scores in the 9.7, so they're going to give up a little ground again to the top 3 teams.
I think the big question right now, John, is can Abby Bowden-Stanton make this beam routine? That is all BYU is thinking right now.
And it is a big moment because they do not have a score higher than a 9.775. Right now they are counting that 9.175, which if Abby Bowden-Stanton can hit her beam routine, obviously they will drop that, but they need more than a hit right now. They need a big score. Ohio State was solid on vault. They may jump ahead of them after 2, so this is critical.
Oh, and they're ranked 12th on this event, so they are not used to seeing these low of scores. You know Abby is feeling the pressure, especially just from that first skill. She is going to have a decent deduction on that first wobble that we saw, but for them it's more important to putting this dismount on her feet right here. And she finishes with a stick.
Yeah, that was a big stuck landing. She needs a 9.8 or better to stay ahead of Ohio State right now after 2 rotations. It's certainly not a situation that I think the BYU Cougars would be at halfway through this competition, but given the mistakes that they've had, Sam, it feels like that's kind of a win. They go to floor, they go to vault the next 2 rotations, and maybe can kind of stretch that lead or get back in front comfortably, but tough spot to be so far.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they're just counting their wins on that event, and they're hoping to make up that ground back on the final 2 events of the competition.
Andy Lee just finishing up her floor exercise routine, freshman for the Cal Bears, and she is an outstanding all-around. I had the pleasure of getting to know her through the Nastia Lukin Cup. She seemed to be in that every single season, had the pleasure of covering that event, and she always was in it and was always in contention to win it. And it's neat to see her taking that next step. Over the uneven bars, that is Hannah Joyner from Rutgers. She is an individual competing here. There's not just teams that qualify to these regional rounds. There are individuals that are also trying to qualify to the NCAA championships as well.
And there's not many individual gymnasts that can do that, John, but Hannah Joyner is one of them. She has had an incredible season. She's so impressive to watch.
She is a sophomore from Waldorf, Maryland, currently ranked 33rd in the nation in the all-around.
Starts off with the straddle Jaeger. She's also the first gymnast in Rutgers history to reach a 9.9 in all 4 of her events. Little college stick there, but I'd like to give her that stick, John.
I'm giving it to her. We're gonna get a message to the judges that was a stuck landing. Now over to the floor exercise, Kiana George. This is a fun routine, Sam.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite to watch in all of NCAA. Big difficulty, front double to punch front. Cal is still going to be in the lead after this routine, whether they use the score or not, but they do want a big score because they don't have many 9.9 plus scores on this event, and that's something that they're used to.
Andy Lee's score was a 9.9.
This routine makes me want to get up in Samba.
You don't want to see my moves, Sam. They're just too good.
I'm not sure I can do the tumbling passes in between anymore, so I guess we'll leave it to Kiana George. Phenomenal job anchoring for Cal on floor.
And you said it so businesslike as we see Belle Huang from Rutgers, senior out of Gaithersburg, Maryland, the last individual to go in this rotation. Cal's so businesslike. Just not a lot of peaks and valleys, just steady as she goes.
Absolutely. Watching these individual girls, Tkachev, like to see a little bit more turnover on that rotation, but it is tough. I commend all of these individual athletes. It's tough to qualify as an individual, and it's even tougher to compete without your full team support by your side. So great job there.
Head coach of Rutgers, Umi Salim Beasley, has done a nice job in her 3rd season trying to grow that program and build her culture, and they'll certainly be one to watch in the years to come. Cal Bears will have the lead after the 2nd rotation, but the Ohio State Buckeyes move ahead of the favored Cougars. Welcome back to Morgantown, West Virginia. John Roethlisberger, Sam Pesek. This is our bracket for our regional. Penn State, West Virginia faced off last night. West Virginia advances. We are in the early session of the 2nd round of these gymnastics championships. Cal Bears, BYU, Ohio State, Towson in this session. Don't go away, though, because Michigan, UCLA, Kent State, and West Virginia will have a good one this evening. And right now, after 2 rotations, the Cal Bears, they are in charge, but that's not the story right now, Sam. The story is the Ohio State Buckeyes have come out to a blazing start, and they have a .075 lead over the BYU Cougars.
I think BYU can still hang on to it, but they had a fall early on in the beam rotation and really had to crawl themselves out of that hole. Here, let's take a look at what happened. Lexi Mathers, first skill up, switch leap, and you know she is kicking herself for that. Switch leaps are an easy skill, but let me tell you, first up on beam and having those nerves, anything can happen, but I'm more impressed with the last 5 gymnasts in this rotation and Abby Bowden-Stanton having to hang on to things here at the end. Here, hitch kick to that front toss, and I actually almost thought she was going to be off the beam, but that fight, that will, that determination kept her on the beam and really kept BYU in the game here. Looking at Ohio State, where they were able to take a slight lead. This is Lexi Edwards here. Yurchenko layout full. I like how high she got. Very clean landing, good chest position. Nice vault. And this is Sydney Jennings. another Yurchenko fall, good body positions, and I think they were rewarded well with those scores on the vault rotation. And looking at floor, they have been building smaller scores than we've seen throughout this season, but Andy Lee was able to get a 9.9 to get things moving in the right direction. Beautiful dance, nice showmanship, especially for a freshman. And her tumbling passes were solid. Easy rotation for Cal.
When we talk about Cal being just textbook so far today, both of their events, beam and floor exercise, each of their scores have either been the same from one gymnast to the next or gone up. And that's exactly what you want from your lineup if you're a coach. As we finish this one-touch warm-up, I look back at that Abby Bowden-Stanton save on balance beam, Sam, and I don't want to overstate this, but that looks like one of those moments. If she doesn't fight and stay on that beam, it's going to be another 5/10 deduction. And as you look back, that could end up being a meet-saving balance check, if you will, for the Cougars when we look back on the end of this competition.
Oh, absolutely, John. And I didn't want to be dramatic earlier, but I thought the exact same thing. Had she have fallen and had that bigger deduction, they'd be even more in the hole, and it's a little harder to climb out, especially when you're starting to lose that confidence, too.
And it's not really much of a hole right now. It's .075, but nonetheless not a situation they thought they'd be in. However, they're done with bars and beam, an event where there's a lot of places for the judges to take deductions, and it's very easy to have falls, as we've seen on the balance beam. But now Ohio State has to go to those two events. They have to go to bars next, and they finish on the balance beam. Really, can you handicap these two teams, despite the fact that the Buckeyes have kind of surprised us at this point? Can you handicap these two teams the rest of the way for us?
Right, yeah, and it's interesting because BYU is heading to floor, which is actually one of their best events. They're ranked 10th in the nation, first in the conference, in their conference on floor. So I think they're hoping to go there and get a little momentum and, of course, take back that lead. That will be interesting. And this do-or-die format, this is the first time we saw this was in a couple of years ago. Obviously, we didn't get to see that last year because of the pandemic, and we didn't get to go to the postseason, Sam. But you didn't get a chance to do this, but you have done competitions where it's do or die. Making it through the Olympic trials process, as we talked about, is brutal on your emotions and your nerves. What do you think of this format, and can you kind of articulate what that feeling is as an athlete, as a gymnast in particular, on how you approach a meet like this? I think this format is amazing for fans, and it allows for teams to pop into the mix that we may not have expected, which is amazing fan experience. However, for these gymnasts, there is not one team that doesn't feel the pressure. If you're coming in as a favorite or a higher seeded ranked team, then you still feel pressure to perform at your best. And if you're an underdog, you feel pressure because you don't want to go home. Just ask Florida. It's not just the teams that are underdogs that could get in. It's those big dogs that are expected to do great things. Florida 2 years ago didn't make it through this tough scenario. They had a bad night, and you just can't have a bad night no matter who you are. Absolutely, and the reality is that gymnasts are coming to college a lot more prepared and ready for their seasons and becoming productive right as freshmen. And so the level of gymnastics is improving, which is great for the sport. But that means that there's not just 1, 2, or 3 teams that are great and a big gap. Everybody is pushing those top-ranked teams, and there's really a target on their back. As we said, Cal will be on the vault. Ohio State on bars, BYU on floor exercise. Towson struggled a little bit through this competition. They go to balance beam, though. Still a lot to prove. If you're on that Towson team, you want to have a good performance here. As you can see, bottom left, getting some last-minute encouragement from the coaching staff. BYU on floor exercise. Rachel Bain-Heaton starts things off. Looking to be aggressive, and a nice stuck landing for the first tumbling pass. Not a bad way to get things going. Rachel Bain-Heaton is a junior now, but the coaches said that she was really raw when she arrived on campus, but had the attitude of the little engine that could, and is now competing on 3 events and even earned scholarship money, which we all know is extremely difficult to do. Slid her feet just a little bit on that last pass, and that's going to be a slight deduction, but it's a step in the right direction for BYU to get back on track and reclaim that lead.
Towson gets a hit in their leadoff spot on balance beam. Cal had a lineup change. Natalie Sadeghi was put in instead of Maya Bordas. Hopefully she's okay. Andy Lee with the nice Yurchenko full.
You see the Cowgirls almost have sticky feet or something, because not just on beam, not just on bars, but every apparatus, they have done such a good job absorbing the mat and finding those stuck landings.
Natalie Sadeghi in the leadoff spot for Cal, a 9.85. Great first vault. That is a career high for her. Zoe Schweitzer for Ohio State now. She is the second gymnast to go for the Buckeyes. Big spot for them. Again, you'd like to get started well, obviously anytime, but when the meet is on the line like this, so much pressure, you want to get a couple good ones under your belt.
And they were celebrating big after that first routine, so they're hoping for those scores to rise for them on bars too.
And that was Emma Pritchard with a 9.8.
Nice vertical positions I'm seeing here on bars. Toe full, little archy shape, but nice save.
Man, big time save, and that's going to be probably a fairly significant deduction, I would imagine, Sam, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
Yeah, and for Ohio State over there, they're wanting to build on those scores, and they're wanting to put a hit meet together. So I think they're getting pumped up by the fact that they are in the lead going into this event.
Andy Lee, a 9.85, so back-to-back 9.85s to start the vault rotation for Cal. We mentioned Emma Pritchard's 9.8, Rachel Bain-Heaton on floor exercise, a 9.8 for BYU to lead things off, and Lauren Bolin on balance beam, a 9.75 for Towson.
Nice double back here on floor for Jordan Matthews, Avery Bennett.
One thing that Guard Young mentioned to us, Sam, when we talked to him earlier this week, was just that he felt his team was as well conditioned as any team in the country. They've had a lot of meets. They were able to get access to their gym earlier than most. And he talks about strong legs and how do your legs feel on day 2 and after you've had a lot of gymnastics competitions. And he feels like his gymnasts are going to be in a good spot if it comes down to that.
Yeah, I thought that was extremely interesting. And then when I was looking up their scores, last competition for them, they didn't count a floor score below a 9.85. So this really is an excellent event for BYU.
Kiana George just nailed a Yurchenko full. Nina Shunk right before her, a 9.9, so a career high score. Again, scores building for the Cal Bears. Meanwhile, for the Buckeyes on bars, Zoe Schweitzer, the second gymnast, a 9.775. So that arch and that handstand cost her. Lexi Edwards is up now.
Yeah, and Lexi Edwards did a pack salto and just missed her hand. I know you were speaking, and I caught that, John. It looked like it hurt, but she just jumped back up. I think she touched her feet on the ground, so that is most likely going to be considered a fall.
So now the Buckeyes give one back, so to speak. 3 gymnasts left to go for the Buckeyes. The pressure will be on them because BYU on floor exercise looks good so far. Jordan Matthews will be their 3rd gymnast up there, waiting for Avery Bennett's score. Cal Bears on vault, Nevaeh D'Souza is their next gymnast as they wait for the Kiana George score, which is a 9.875.
You see Liz Crandall-Howell there in the background behind Nevaeh D'Souza of Cal. And she said, you know, the landings is really the key for us on vault. The power is there. We have big, dynamic, clean vaults. So we're focusing a lot on the exit positions. Good, Yurchenko 1.5, slid her feet back just slightly, but that's gonna be a good score.
It feels like Cal is not going to leave any doubt in the minds of the judges and the fans watching this who the #1 team in the rankings in this session is, because they have just been methodical. Now BYU's
but to be
Jordan
expected,
Matthews.
John, you were on those coaches' calls and they said they come in every single morning and it's just normal. They just train very consistently, and so that's why they don't come into the meets with all this adrenaline, all of these nerves. They just do what they practice every single day, and that's really a coach's dream.
So Jordan Matthews on floor exercise for BYU. Obviously a big moment for them. You can see the Buckeyes getting ready for their 4th gymnast, Alexis Hankins. A big moment for that team as well.
I was excited to watch this floor team by Jordan Matthews, the senior, because it's Vote for Pedro, the Napoleon Dynamite routine.
Am I not officially an American if I've never actually seen that movie, or am I just more sophisticated?
Definitely option A, John. You've got to get it together. Late night homework. Nice double bag, quick to finish. So much personality here happening on floor. I love it.
So nice job from Jordan Matthews. Alexis Hankins looking good so far through her bar routine.
She needs to put it on her feet. Last 2 gymnasts up for Ohio State on bars. We're gonna need to see clean handstands. We're gonna need to see a stuck landing for them to stay in this competition, because BYU is on fire on floor.
And it might be a moment where BYU is just saying not so fast, because the Buckeyes are put themselves in a tough spot. They right now have Alexi Edwards 9.35 that they are counting. The next score is Zoe Schweitzer in the second spot at 9.775, and Emma Pritchard, she did lead off with that nice 9.8, but they are going to need scores, it feels like, in that high 9.8 territory if they want to keep this lead over BYU.
Well, their anchor, Jenna Schwartzenschuber, can score a 9.9 plus. Her career high is a 9.925, so she's capable of that.
Colby Miller will be the next Buckeye to go, and she is one of those team leaders that really pulls the team together, leads by voice and example, and right now she's going to need to lead by example. She'll be the 5th gymnast to go. Towson on balance beam, meanwhile, they're having a good rotation. They have 4 hits. Emerson Hurst, the gymnast mounting the beam right now.
And this is really where NCAA gymnastics becomes a team sport. It is so important that Colby Miller hits this bar routine for Ohio State, and you can tell by her very deep breaths right before she's saluting that she's feeling a little heat here.
Jordan Matthews for BYU, a 9.8.
Nice handstand. Good body shapes, legs together. I'm liking what I'm seeing here on bars.
Alexis Hankins right before her, a 9.8.
Good double layout position, and that is the routine they needed, John.
They needed that big time. It was funny, that double layout, looks like it was a stick, but she never stood up. She just kind of turned to the judges. I'm not sure what they'll do with that, but other than that, Sam, it seemed, about as good as she could do.
Right, yeah, I think that's exactly what they were hoping to see from Colby, so they're wanting to see another big number from Jenna to see where they rank up next to BYU after this event.
Abby Bowden-Stanton is finishing her floor routine for BYU. They have 2 gymnasts left to go after her. 1 to go for BYU on bars. Cal's done. And 1 balance beam worker for Towson yet to go.
Now, Abby Bowden-Stanton is one of the team captains for BYU, and she actually is another athlete that came to the program as a walk-on and earned a scholarship. Head coach Gard Young told us that his philosophy is do the program and you will find success, and he thinks Abby is an amazing example of that.
So far for BYU, strong legs. Gard Young didn't lie. They're hitting floor routines. They're going to have to keep that momentum going as they go to their last event in the 4th rotation, the vault. Emerson Hurst, a 9.85, the highest score so far for Towson on balance beam. Cassidy Stewart will anchor things there. The next gymnast to go for BYU on floor exercise will be Brittany Vitauskas. And Jenna Schwartzentruber mounts the bars, the anchor for the Buckeyes. Big moment for them.
Nice release to get things going here. Beautiful pack salto. She's got a good swing. Little shy on that handstand there, but we want to see a stuck landing from her here on bars.
Gotta stick it.
And they are fired up. They needed a hit routine, and not only did she hit, but she stuck the landing, exclamation point there. Well done.
Pressure moments. Both BYU on balance beam had to fight after initial fall in their first athlete. The Buckeyes get their chance. 3rd gymnast up has a break, and the rest of them have to answer. Colby Miller, a career high in the 5th spot, a 9.925 for the Buckeyes. Just waiting for Schwartzentruber's score.
And you mentioned BYU and Ohio State having to deal with a fall, and that's actually where I think champions are made. When there is some adversity, an obstacle, and the whole team steps up, you know they want this for their program.
Towson finishes great on the balance beam with Cassidy Stewart. There'll be 2 individuals to go on beam. Hannah Joyner and Belle Huang will go on that event. Abby Bowden-Stanton, a 9.825, as Brittany Vitauskas is the 5th gymnast to go for BYU.
Starting with a clean front double. Brittany scored a 9.925 last meet, and her and Alder actually shared the title as co-specialist of the year on floor.
The score is in for Jenna Schwartzentruber on bars, 9.875, so nice finish for them. They get to drop that 9.35, however, they do count a 9.775. Right now, the low score for BYU on floor exercise, a 9.75. Abby Milner-Alder will be the final gymnast to go on this event.
Clean routine. I really like how she has her chest extremely vertical when her feet hit the ground. That definitely minimizes deductions on those tumbling passes on floor.
Katrina Koka, individual from Pittsburgh, finishing up her bar routine. Big, full twisting double bag, a little too big.
She was surprised herself a little there.
Pitt Panthers making a presence here at the regionals. Hannah Joyner on balance beam for Rutgers.
I'm actually really looking forward to watching Hannah Joyner's routine. She has the school record on beam with a 9.95. Look how quick she is to that finish position. A beam worker's dream up there.
I had a chance to watch Rutgers earlier this season. They competed at Minnesota, and Minnesota got the win, but they had a heck of a competition. It was their season high up to that point, and you could kind of see maybe a little shift in stepping forward for this program that day, and a big reason why is Hannah Joyner and Belle Huang, who are both competing here today.
And a lot of times you see more powerful gymnasts almost be springy when they hit the beam, and Hannah Joyner does an amazing job of sinking into the beam, strong arm positions, and it's a really clean routine overall. I didn't see many deductions at all with that routine.
So one gymnast to go for BYU on floor exercise. Belle Huang will have her opportunity to go on balance beam for Rutgers as an individual. Cal Bears are going to have the lead. Again, they have a meet total right now of a 148.125. Ohio State a 147.35. Abby Minor-Alder needs a 10.0 to move ahead of Ohio State. Brittany Vakauskas got a 9.85. Wow.
Opens with a big double lay, so it's not impossible, John. Abby Minor-Alder is the gymnast you want for the job. She's currently tied for 10th in the country on floor, and head coach Gard Young actually said she needs to lay down a good routine for us.
She is their co-captain, all-around rank in the country of a 27th ranking. And that was a very serendipitous prediction because they need a big number right here.
No pressure at all. Hey, she's 2 for 2, extremely clean passes. Finishing double pike, no problems there.
I haven't asked you to predict.
They'll throw a 10 early on in this competition, John, but
maybe the most exciting weekend in all of gymnastics, and I'm saying that in an Olympic year. Yeah, you heard me. April 16th and 17th, the semifinals on that Friday, 2 sessions, 1 and 6 Eastern time. Then the national championship will be at 3:30 Eastern time, and what an exciting event that is. We haven't had a chance to go there, Sam, for 2 years. It's going to be such an amazing moment and should be a lot of fun. But today, this is part of that process. And right now, Cal they're comfortable. But there's 2 teams here going into the last event that are not.
Man, BYU and Ohio State seem to be going back and forth on who is taking that lead. They're showing some phenomenal gymnastics and really adjusting well to those mistakes, which is what you want to see from teams early on in this competition.
Some of the highlights from that last rotation.
Cal did a consistent job, exactly what we were expecting, but Nina Shank with Yurchenko layout full was the most impressive to me. Check out this landing. Knew exactly where she was to find a stuck landing. Good shapes in the air, opens up at the perfect time, boom. And then you head to bars with Ohio State, and this is Colby Miller. She scored a 9.925 and is a huge reason of why Ohio State is still beating BYU after 3 rotations. They were feeling the heat after a fall early on in the lineup, but Colby handled the pressure, and not only did she handle it, but she finished with an impressive double layout to a stick right there. And of course, BYU was having a solid rotation. I'm laughing because Jordan Matthews has such a showmanship personality. This is the Napoleon Dynamite routine. She wasn't the highest scoring gymnast for BYU, but I had a really good time watching her routine. John, I know you haven't seen Napoleon Dynamite, but I'll teach you all these moves, or better yet, maybe Jordan Matthews can teach you these moves sometime after this meet.
Yeah, I think we should do a little clinic on that. Maybe do another quad box of breaking down the Napoleon Dynamite dance moves. I'm in. I bet we'd get a big audience.
The audience would love that. The facial expressions, you can tell she's making eye contact with the judges, and That's exactly what you want to see at this level in gymnastics.
I like that move right there. Now, I have never seen the back head spring and kick back up.
It's actually really hard. I've tried it before.
I feel like I'd hurt myself.
And not only does she have the performance quality, but she's got the good tumbling to back it up, which is why we saw her earn a 9.8 here for this floor routine.
So nice rotation on floor exercise for BYU. Ohio State, they avoid disaster in their bar rotation, finishing strong after a fall or a mistake from one of their gymnasts. And it comes down to this. The Buckeyes with a .075 lead going into the final rotation. That's nothing, right, Sam? I mean, you might as well be tied. But here's the thing. BYU goes to vault. That's their lowest ranking and scoring event. Their high on the season is a 49.225. Buckeyes, they go to balance beam, which I don't care how good you are in balance beam. The pressure is on anytime, any place when you go to that event. But they are coming off their worst performance of their entire season from the Big Ten championships when they put up a 48.225. That is a rough one if you're in the Big Ten doing gymnastics. That's a low score. But their high score on the season on balance beam, an event where they are ranked 24th in the nation, is a 49.225. So if you're marking down these things at home, each of these teams, BYU on vault, Ohio State on balance beam, have a season high of a 49.225. Buckeyes with a .075 lead going into the last rotation with the season on the line. There is no tomorrow for one of these teams. The regional finals are going to be in about 24 hours. Which one will be there? We're going to know in about the next 15 minutes.
This is an incredible last rotation for all of those reasons, John. And, you know, I was thinking about Ohio State coming off of their worst beam performance of the season, and I actually see it as a good thing because, you know, after their conference championships, they went back in the gym, they did a ton of pressure sets, a lot of inner squads, and I think they actually probably are in a better spot coming into this beam rotation than if they did well at conference championships.
It feels like a classic moment where you don't look at the scoreboard. You just look at what's in front of you, the next routine, the next sequence, the next skill, and you can't pay attention to what's going on around you. I'm nervous watching, and I'm the furthest thing from an athlete at this point.
My heart is beating for them, and you know, Meredith Polisiewicz, head coach for Ohio State, was giving them that pep talk. Let's stay in our zone. Let's focus on our team because she wants to keep them in that Ohio State bubble.
Here's Haley P2 on vault for BYU. Little hop to the side.
Full, but that's going to be a significant deduction landing off balance like that.
And Guard Young
it's not
said
the start
that
they wanted.
Yeah, he said that this is not their best event. They only have one 10-0 vault. They have a lot of Yurchenko fulls. He said we need to get 9/8s from those Yurchenko fulls. And I'm not sure that first one is going to be in the 9/8s. Zoe Schweitzer from Ohio State is leading off from beam, and they got a hit.
High fives all around for Ohio State, getting things going. And this is an event they want to have a different approach than BYU and really start strong on beam to build those scores throughout the competition, throughout this beam final event.
The second gymnast for BYU on vault will be Angel Zong. Meanwhile, I don't want to take attention away from the #1 team in the country on the uneven bars, the Cal Bears. They're in control of the meet. And, you know, sometimes success is your own worst enemy. They're not getting the most attention right now because of the drama between second and third. But if you want to see some great bars, that is where you want to look. Meanwhile, Towson's on floor exercise as well, trying to finish strong.
Yeah, they really do a clinic over there on bars, and it is so beautiful, textbook quality, every handstand, every leg position together, and they do a good job sticking every landing.
Angel Zong, a nice stuck.
Beautiful Yurchenko layout full. John, she stuck it. That's what they're hoping for, and maybe they want to drop that Haley P2 score on vault and keep things building from here.
It feels like they almost have to. That 9.65 right now, the way this meet is going, that feels like a miss. And if they're counting that 9.65, they're going to have trouble. Zoe Schweitzer leading off for Ohio State at 9.8 as Kobe Miller begins her beam routine.
In a situation like this, I do think even though Ohio State was leading coming into this last event, it's a lot easier to handle the pressure on vault than it is on beam. You have to stay focused for 1 minute and 30 seconds on beam, whereas vault, it's a power event. You can kind of use that adrenaline and make sure you control the landing, which isn't as tough as controlling all of those nerves for 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Kobe Miller seems very poised in this pressure situation. Angel Zong at 9.825. Almost thought that score would be a little higher.
Yeah, I agree with you, John, but you know, one thing about not being at the competitions, you really can't see all the angles that the judges are seeing. And of course, we know it's a subjective sport here.
That was Rachel Bain Heaton in the 3rd spot for the Cougars.
Good body positions in the air, but slight hop on that landing.
Jana Wheats for Towson on floor. She follows Lauren Boland's 9.725 in the leadoff spot. Nevaeh D'Souza, she's just, a boring starting gymnast. First one up on the apparatus for Cal. She only got a 9.925 in the leadoff spot. When you're the #1 team in the country, wow.
I mean, for them, it's not necessarily a goal to qualify to tomorrow's competition because they've pretty much already solidified that. But as the #1 ranked team in the country, I wonder if they're going to push their limits to get a NCAA record. They've already tied the NCAA record on bars with a 49.825. That's
what?
Huge.
That's impossible.
Huge.
That's an impossible. 49.825. My goodness.
But with Nevaeh D'Souza starting with a 9.925, I'm curious to see if scores are going to rise from here, and they do have the potential to.
Alexis Hankins now for the Buckeyes, the 3rd gymnast to go. Kobe Miller, a 9.85, so she gets a 1/4 of a tenth over the 2nd gymnast for BYU on vault, Angel Zong. Rachel Bain Heaton, a 9.775 for BYU in the 3rd spot.
Now Alexis Hankins on beam, she's a sophomore. She actually had a fall at Big Tens, but her career high is a 9.9. She's looking solid to start this routine so far.
Avery Bennett on vault. Big hop in the landing, but lands on her feet.
You know, for Ohio State, that has a lot on the line. They're looking pretty calm up there.
I think that would be an understatement. 3 hit routines. Little trouble on that landing, a couple tenths off possibly, but that's 3 hits. They've got 3 gymnasts yet to go. They need 2 hit routines, and the Ohio State Buckeyes just might advance to the regional finals. Words I don't think, Sam, you or I thought we would be saying today after this first session.
I didn't think that we were going to say that this early on in the competition, but I had a gut feeling that we were going to have some upsets at this regional location, and I didn't know where they were going to come from, but it does make things a little bit more interesting tomorrow if that's the case.
So we have 2 vaulters yet to go for BYU. Alex Mason will be next. Abby Miner-Alder will be the anchor. Avery Bennett, we're waiting for her score. Also waiting for Alexis Hankins' score. Andy Lee, a 9.825 in the 2nd spot for Cal. Jana Wheats, unfortunate 9.15 on floor. She had a fall. Here we go.
Now looking quickly at bars, John, Maya Bordis, she scored a 9.875 last meet, and that was the lowest score that they counted on bars. So I had a chance to ask the coaches, what's been working for them? #1 bar team in the country, and they gave all the credit to Janelle McDonald, who's right there giving those fist bumps, and said that she's been phenomenal at coaching them. She said they're talented and they have a bunch of natural swingers, but they do a good job of training consistently.
Alexis Hankins for Ohio State, a 9.775 in the 3rd spot. Avery Bennett, the 4th spot for BYU, a 9.825. This is Jenna Schwarzentruber trying to keep pace with that Avery Bennett 9.825.
I think this could quite possibly come down to the very last routine in the competition. Finishing with another hit, another stuck landing for Ohio State.
Wow. Alex Mason got a 9.8 on vault. This is the final vaulter for the Cougars. Oh, and they do not do a 10.0 vault.
Nice way to finish, though. A Yurchenko layout full, and I like how stretched her hips were in that twisting shape before she hit the ground.
So that most likely will drop the 9.65 that they have been counting up till that point. They will have to count a 9.775, will the Cougars. So now it's all on beam. We mentioned this after the floor rotation, the first rotation for Ohio State, Sam. Can you imagine if? Well, imagine if is not an imagination anymore, because the Buckeyes' berth into the regional final is going to come down to their last 2 balance beam routines. Maya Bordas, a 9.85 on bars. Nina Schunk right before her, a 9.9.
And they are cruising here in this bar rotation. That was Alma Cook. They dropped her 9.85, and I'm not seeing as many stuck landings on bars, but maybe they're saving it for tomorrow. I think they still have the potential to reach above their top bar score that they've already done this season.
Emma Pritchard is on the beam for the Buckeyes. Abby Minor Alder, the anchor for the Cougars, a 9.85 for her vault. Big score to finish.
Little adjustment on the series there on beam for Emma Pritchard. And they look focused to me. They look like they're working aggressive beam, which is a good spot to be in. You know, John, I'm really curious. I can't wait to ask head coach Meredith Polisiewicz, what did she say to them before heading into this beam rotation? Because they look dialed in.
They are dialed in, Sam, and what I'm being told, what I believe is the case, is if the Buckeyes can get a 9.75 from either of their last 2 gymnasts, which is very doable, and Emma Pritchard may have just done that, they are going to upset the number 12 team in the country, the BYU Cougars.
I mean, you can check out BYU in that top left, and you can tell that they are not feeling super happy at this point in time. They know that a lot is on the line here.
Meredith Polisiewicz in her 4th season at Ohio State. This is ironically an event where when I talked to her this week, she said, yeah, we lost one of our best beam workers, a freshman that she recruited, her first recruiting class as a head coach at Ohio State. They lost a 9.9 plus early in the season, and she made a point of how, man, it's an event we really needed to improve on. And right out of the gate, we lost one of our best gymnasts. Now here they are, ironically enough, on an event where that was a disaster 2 weeks ago, at the Big Ten Championships, where they may get a berth to the regional finals.
We got to check out this bar routine. It's the final one for Cal. This is Emmy Watterson. She's a senior. She scored a perfect 10 on bars this season. so beautiful from start to finish, holding those handstands. Nice back salto. Again, locks in those handstand positions. Van Leeuwen straight up to that handstand. To a stuck landing. I mean, I didn't see any deductions there, John. This is going to be a huge number, if not a perfect 10.
It might be a 10. They already have two 9.925s, but the story right now is happening on the balance beam. Ella Hodges, this routine is a victory lap for the Buckeyes because Emma Pritchard's 9.8 puts them in front of the Cougars and puts them into the regional finals tomorrow.
We've got an upset already, but my bet and my guess is that Ella Hodges has no idea that that's happened so far. She's focused on her beam routine, and she's wanting to clinch this routine for her team. But maybe someone was doing the math behind the scenes because they seem extremely excited.
Regardless, they should.
Yeah, I saw her
absolutely.
put her hands on her head. I bet they know.
Towson finishing up the floor exercise amid the mayhem over on the balance beam. And there's always another side to that coin. The thrill of victory and the heartbreak on the other side of the floor over by vault for BYU. Amazing season for them. And
you know, I'm actually gutted for BYU because speaking to head coach Guard Young on the phone, they actually prepared all season long to compete both days. So they were hoping for an upset in tomorrow's competition with those teams because they felt like they had the legs, John.
And that is tough. It's a hard situation. I've been, unfortunately, most of the time on the heartbreak side, and I know how that feels. And you put so much effort and so much work, and they've had such a great year. And I think that's the hard part too, is when you know, man, stars are aligning, and we've really got a squad that can maybe not only make it till tomorrow, but you know what? Put yourself in a situation where, you know, they could have been the Ohio State tomorrow, and they could have shocked Michigan or Cal, and assuming Michigan makes it, of course, we've seen anything can happen, but they could have been that team that surprised and made it to the NCAA championships, and to not have that happen it's a hard realization as an athlete.
And you know what's also heartbreaking is a lot of that BYU team that we saw compete here today are seniors. So this is their very last competition as an athlete, and I know it's not the way they wanted to finish.
7 seniors in the lineup for the BYU Cougars. Coach Guard Young said it's maybe the best group that he's ever coached. And a tough realization there for them, but still some more gymnastics. Lauren Beckwith from Pitt is on the balance beam as an individual, and Towson finishing up on the floor exercise. Paige Casper will round out the competition for the Tigers. Paige, a sophomore from Carmel, Indiana. This is her only event tonight. Had to wait all night, all afternoon rather, to get to this point for her chance to perform. Lauren Beckwith loving it on the balance beam. Congratulations to her on a great performance. Good finish for Towson on the floor exercise. They did have a fall early in that rotation, but they got 5 hits. Not a perfect competition for them. Had some mistakes, but certainly a great accomplishment being here at the regionals for Towson. Outstanding season. Their head coach, Jay Ramirez, just in the 2nd year there. While he's been on the staff at Towson, he's had 8 of the top 10 team scores. Certainly going to do great things with that team. But Meredith Polisiewicz, in her 4th year, man, there's no bigger smile in the world of gymnastics right now. You can't see it. It's under that Ohio State Buckeye mask, but it's there, I can promise you.
Hey, I can see her smiling with her eyes. That's a whole new thing that I've learned with the mask, and it's radiating off of Meredith Polisiewicz right now.
True. I have noticed that too. I smile in my mask, and people know that I'm smiling. I've never paid attention. Maybe we'll all pay attention a little more now. We have 2 more individuals yet to go. Hannah Joyner and Belle Huang, both from Rutgers. Hannah Joyner, we saw that outstanding beam routine she did with a 9.925 in the last rotation. Hoping to finish strong here for what was a very good Rutgers team this season.
And how special for them to qualify together. So even though they qualified as individuals, they both qualified as individuals, so it feels like having a little piece of your team to cheer you on. And I will say that when I was an athlete at UCLA, we always had an individual competitor, and most college teams do an amazing job cheering for them, rooting for them, kind of bringing them in to make them feel like they have a team.
So Hannah's beam score of a 9.925 is second only to a gymnast from Cal. So if you're an individual trying to advance ultimately onto the national championships, that is what is important. How do you compare to all the athletes who will not advance as part of a team? And right now, Hannah Joyner looks very good for the balance beam.
Her best event is beam, but she's really an all-around competitor. She's got those big skills, but she's also solid. Finishing up her routine here, the 1.5 front pike. And there you go, Ohio State is cheering for Hannah Joyner because they know she doesn't have necessarily a full team supporting her. That's what I like to see.
Gotta love that. Hannah Joyner's season may continue. Outstanding performance. You know, this Rutgers team, pretty interesting. They had 12 freshmen, Sam. I don't know too many teams that have 12 freshmen. They have 27 athletes on the squad. And talking to head coach Umi Salim Beasley earlier this season, you know, when you got 12 freshmen, you don't know what to expect. But the thing that she thought stood out to her the most was just they have such a strong work ethic and actually have made the rest of the team really step up their game.
We talked about this earlier, John. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, right? So Hannah Joyner, she's only a sophomore, so she didn't have a postseason last year. She didn't have that opportunity. So this is really almost, quote unquote, her freshman year when it comes to the postseason.
Mike Rosso, the assistant coach, you can see standing there in his 3rd season as well. His brother Ralph was the interim head coach at Washington this season. Our final gymnast to compete here in the first session of the regional semifinals, Belle Huang, the senior.
197.7 for Cal, and look at those bar scores. Huge numbers from start to finish.
I think the scary thing, if you're competing against Cal, is their emotions seemed very level, even when things were great. And things were mostly great today, let's be honest. But they didn't get too high. They didn't go crazy. They didn't have this over-the-top celebration when something was good. It's like they expect it. And
well, I know the culture there, John, and they didn't stick every bar dismount, so they're not totally happy. They know they have more left in the tank, and that's a scary thought to score a 197.7 and know that there's a lot of areas for improvement still.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed with that 49.575 on bars too. But you're right. I'm sure they are. They probably are looking at it going, man, we gave away 3/4 tenths.
Finishing up strong Rudy.
So what might be the final routine for that senior, Belle Huang, a great career at Rutgers, leader of that team, and a program that is certainly on the rise. So here's how it looks. I don't know how your brackets are at home, people, but if you had Ohio State, you're smiling right now. They pull the upset. They beat the 12th ranked BYU Cougars. Cal Bears cruise as they advance to the regional final as well. The bottom half of the bracket going at 7 Eastern time tonight. Some of the highlights from this last rotation for Cal, throw a dart. They're all highlights for them.
Hey, you had me guess some scores earlier, and I was almost right on with Emmy Watterson's score. I said it should have been a perfect 10, and at least 2 of the judges thought so as well. She scored a 9.975, and man, holding those handstands, it is just textbook bar work from start to finish here.
If that's not a 10, I want to see who's going to get a 10, because that was perfect.
I think it was as well. Great job for them. And of course, BYU, we saw some great things. This is Angel Zong here. Yurchenko layout full, does a nice job finding that landing, dialing it in, and we thought things were moving in the right direction, but just not enough to top Ohio State. This is Avery Bennett. Good clean landing as well. And last look at Abby Minor-Alder, scoring a 9.85. Good body positions in the air, clean landings, just not quite enough to top Ohio State. Of course, they needed a little more than 2 tenths there. And I'm most impressed with Ohio State finishing the competition on beam with so much on the line. They looked steady Eddie. They looked calm, cool, and collected up there to pull an upset. Nice clean landings. Jenna Schwarzenberger, 9.85, and this is Ella Hodgins, and of course, she secured the victory before Ella even went, but finishing round up 1.5 and huge celebration all around. They know they had clinched the upset, and they will be competing in tomorrow's competition.
What a performance, and we love drama. If you're a fan of the sport of gymnastics, you love drama, and I'm not sure if Meredith Paula-Civic loved it as much as we did, because she was down there in the trenches. Meredith, you told me earlier this week that you said we're starting on floor, which has kind of been our worst event this season, and I like that. I like that we're starting there, and if we can get off to a good start, you never know what might happen, and you seem to be a little bit prophetic in that statement.
That is so true, John. It's just with COVID and being one of the last teams to start training, floor has just been hard for us to get those legs going. So once they sort of rallied on floor today, I just kept telling them, just keep fighting. You don't need to be perfect. Everybody here is a little bit nervous and anxious, but it's how hard you fight. You got to keep fighting all the way to the end. And I don't even know. I'm never at a loss for words, you know that, and I don't know what to say right now. So excited.
Well, Meredith, congratulations. Finishing on beam is not easy, and for them to handle that pressure, the whole time they were competing, I just said, I've got to know, what did Meredith say to them before they mounted the beam?
You know, I tell them the same thing I always do. Be aggressive, have strong legs, and tight core. It's okay to be nervous, but your legs need to be strong. And I'm so happy for the beam team because we've struggled on beam the last couple years, and we really took some time during COVID to go back and revamp the whole beam program. We changed everything, and they worked so hard. It's just so nice to see the athletes, all their hard work pay off. So I'm super excited for them.
So what does this mean for your program? You know, this is obviously a big moment. You're trying to build something. You haven't been there that long, just your fourth season. You know, how does this affect what you do and what you've accomplished so far, but also going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hardest thing, right, to build is that confidence and feeling like you belong and you fit in. So I think that this will go a long way because we see good gymnastics every day in the gym. It's just being able to put it together in a meet. So hopefully this will go a long way in just giving them that confidence that they belong. I'm super excited for them.
So looking to tomorrow's competition, I know you must want to celebrate a little bit, but looking ahead to tomorrow, what's the message to the team?
You know what? Just do the same thing. Keep fighting. Somebody else may be a little more on tomorrow. Somebody else may be a little more off, but like every 10th matters. So keep fighting all the way to the end. I mean, we're excited to be there, but we're not just going to come in and like give it away. So we're going to come in and try to fight again tomorrow.
Well, good luck, Coach. Thank you so much for the time, and go celebrate. We can see that smile all the way through your mask. You keep it up.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Great job, Meredith.
What a performance from the Buckeyes, and obviously the Cal Bears showed why they're the 5th-ranked team in the country. They will be going tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's on the ESPN app. You absolutely don't want to miss that. But tonight, 7 Eastern on the ESPN app, Sam and I will be back again for more gymnastics. Michigan, UCLA, Kent State, and West Virginia. And if you've learned anything from today's competition at all, don't just assume those top 2 teams are getting in. Expect the unexpected. Sam, would you agree?
Absolutely. Anything can happen. And tonight was going to be so interesting with Michigan coming in as the leader and UCLA right behind. And of course, we have 2 other amazing teams that I cannot wait to see in tonight's competition.
I as well. We'll take a breath, but not a long one. Grab a drink, a cold glass of water, and be ready for more gymnastics. But from this one, it's the Cal Bears. They get the big win, 197-7. Ohio State Buckeyes, a 196-525. They edge out the 12th-ranked team in the country, the BYU Cougars. They will advance, do the Buckeyes Towson in 195-025. For Sam Petchik, I'm John Roethlisberger from West Virginia University Coliseum in Morgantown. So long.